Michael Jackson there. 105.7 Light FM. Morning all, I'm Dave. We're at 8:41 here. It's 19 before 9. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. And boy, would advice be handy right now. Wall Street report. Let's find out what's going on with your money in New York and elsewhere with the resources of Philip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. Well, we just didn't manage to panic yesterday for all the saber rattling that was coming out of Washington, did we, Philip?
We didn't, Dave. I mean, yeah, we had a little tinge of red, but nothing drastic when you look at the overall last few days that we've seen in the markets last week. I can't complain about a little pause yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. After the run-up we've had, the Dow yesterday was down by just 5 points. S&P lost $17. NASDAQ lost $64, which is kind of a normal sifting and winnowing day just to make the vote less than unanimous. The Russell 2000 gained about 0.58%, and that was enough to set a new both intraday and closing record for the small stock index. I was saying before we went on the air, boy, if President Trump ever carried through on all of those Armageddon threats that he's making, trying to get Iran back to the bargaining table, I got a sneaking hunch we'd fall out of bed like nobody's business, because they're at the point right now where they're starting to recognize these are negotiating positions and not actual threats like we had a couple of weeks ago in a panic, right?
Well, it seems to be that way. But when you talk about geopolitical stuff, you really just never know. I mean, that has been his posture. But let's face it, it is President Trump, and he could change directions very quickly.
Absolutely. President Trump's known for that, and heaven knows you can't trust the Iranians to keep a consistent position. So, I mean, it's basically two completely unpredictable quantities going at loggerheads with each other, and nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. Right now, there's no new news to speak of. The Iranians still say the Strait of Hormuz is closed. We boarded that Iranian ship and blew up its engine room the other day, and we're looking at, I'm trying to remember, what is it? Tomorrow, the ceasefire is supposed to end, and President Trump has been saber-rattling all day about how he won't extend the ceasefire and all of the world will end when it ends up and all of that. And I like I said, I was amazed that the market didn't react negatively to it, but it really didn't. I mean, it was like I said, you get a half a point down on an index. That's kind of a normal day these days, isn't it?
It is. That you can't discount that, but it's there's going to be little ups and little downs. That's definitely nothing to get excited about compared to some of the days we've seen before. But President Trump was just on the phone with CNBC. They were interviewing him, had a short phone call with him, and he said, that he would not commit to extending the ceasefire even if they made progress today. So he's holding some of those things really close to the vest right now.
Yeah, I like the term. Would not commit to extending the ceasefire. That's a little change in language from what he was using yesterday.
Oh, yes. I mean, it was like, I don't want to extend it. That was kind of really his words. I don't want to extend it.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean he didn't say, I won't extend it. I don't want to have to extend it. That little different verbiage there.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like a modification of the verbiage just a little bit, and that little bit can mean an awful lot when you're talking about international relations. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. A whole bunch of other tidbits are changing the market and making things change today. The big news at the end of the day yesterday on the business front was, holy crud, Tim Cook is finally going to retire from Apple. He's got a new head honch that he's appointed, and John Turnus has been at Apple almost as long as Tim Cook has been. So on actual results, may not change all that much, but boy, when you change CEOs at a $4 trillion cap company. That kind of makes the investors sit up and take notice, doesn't it?
It does. I mean that is when you're that big of a company and there's a change in CEO, there's always a little bit of uncertainty about what's going to happen. Now, one of the things I did see, at least a headline, was about Turnus, is that he's really up to the challenge for fixing the company's AI strategy. And I think I read where Cook's still going to be around. He's going to be chairman of the board,
Yep.
just not going to be running day-to-day operations.
And he'd alluded to the notion that the public forward facing of the company, in other words, when it gets hauled up before Congress, probably still going to be Tim Cook. He's the PR expert.
Yeah, so I think there's really not a lot of change there.
Not absolutely gone. The other thing I know the watchers are going to be watching today, President Trump's nominee to replace Powell on the Fed chair position, Kevin Warsh, he gets to get hauled up before the Senate this morning at 10 a.m. And all of the liberal-leaning sites have been busy putting out all of the quote-unquote shady financial deals that he's struck over the years, quote-unquote, because my understanding is he's filthy rich, which shouldn't offend anybody, but depending upon which way your politics lean, a lot of the left websites, I guess they think that the chairman of the Federal Reserve should come off of the welfare rolls or something. They don't like the fact that president nominated a rich guy to run the biggest bank.
Yeah, that's there's some question about holdings, and I was reading an article yesterday, as far as one thing that the Fed's not allowed to do is they cannot invest in banks because obviously they regulate banks, right? And so evidently he does have an investment in a fund that specifically has a couple banks in it, and I think that's raised a few hairs.
That was one of the paragraphs I saw in one of the articles, and I was saying, well, okay, divestiture is pretty common when stuff like that happens. It didn't strike me as being earth-shakingly big, but it was about 8 pages on a CNN website that I was kind of almost giggling at.
It doesn't take much some days.
Not much, especially when you're CNN. Good news. Well, it's kind of good news. JetBlue's CEO said they are not considering filing for bankruptcy. The rumors were out a while ago, but when your CEO has to make a public announcement that you're not going toes up, that's never good news, is it?
No, it's not. I actually saw them kind of mentioned the other day when I was reading the whole United American quote merger possibility, actually roped in JetBlue as well somewhere in there.
No, they could buy JetBlue with their coffee fund if they get as big as they're talking about being.
But yet, Dave, they wouldn't let JetBlue merge and buy Spirit. Really? And so now Spirit's gone. Spirit's basically gone now. So
I've completely forgotten that. I've completely forgotten. You're right. That makes no sense. We can talk about United Airlines merging with American, but JetBlue and Spirit couldn't merge.
Yeah, that just befuddles me.
Sound of head banging against wall, kind of, sort of. About the only other tidbit I've got is that they're starting to hand out refunds for the overcharges on President Trump's doomed tariffs. But the word is the website keeps crashing. They hired a high school intern in order to do the website because they really don't want to cough up the money anyway, do they?
No, they don't. Hey, you got Amazon getting a big bump this morning as they've agreed to invest $25 billion in Anthropic to really expand their AI infrastructure within Amazon.
I really want an artificial intelligence bot listening to my Alexa and telling me what I need. Scares me. Earnings season continues, and we've been kind of following United Healthcare because after the Medicare reimbursement adjustments at the beginning of the year, they kind of had a panic on their stock. How did they do last quarter after things shake out?
And they did okay, Dave. They beat on earnings, beat on revenue, hiked their full year guidance. They're trading up like almost 7.3% this morning. Hey, I don't want to divert you, but you did forget a little bit of macro information that came out this morning.
Oh, Retail sales. That's right.
Got to
I was
keep you in
having so
line,
much
boy.
fun talking about Tim Cook. I forgot all about it. Best in 3 years, wasn't it?
It was up. I didn't see the actual whether it was the best we've had, but it was 1.7% increase in U.S. retail sales. That was better than the 1.5% expected, and way better than February. February was up 0.7%. So, and actually, Dave, auto sales was a negative to that number, because if you take auto sales out of retail sales, it was actually up 1.9%.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, my headline said it was a 3-year high for a jump in retail sales. So we're still burning plastic just fine, aren't we?
It seems to be that way.
Evidently. Sorry about that. I completely
That's
forgot
okay.
that. I was so fascinated by watching Tim Cook and his reasonable facsimile.
Hey, we do have a couple other household names that have reported. 3M, the sticky note people, Scotch tape people, they reported. Um, they they had an okay quarter, but they kind of a mixed result. And then, of course, their forward guidance wasn't exactly what was expected. They're trading down 3.75% this morning, before we get going. And then the other one, two other ones I want to mention. D.R. Horton, because it's kind of home sales, which is kind of a bellwether for how real estate's doing. They had a good quarter. They beat on earnings, beat on revenue, and so good for them. They're moving up, man, almost 7% today, Dave.
Wowzers.
Yeah, nice bump
Good
there.
news out of a home builder.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but let's look at retail. Tractor Supply, a local company, or at least we have a local store here. They had a little bit of an issue, disappointing earnings and revenue numbers, as far as what we're looking at there. And so they're trading down 4% this morning.
Well, shucks. And the one we got here is not having a good day with Rural King opening up right at the road from them either, I'd imagine, right?
I bet not. I mean, you can spend all day there.
Yeah, I think so. Resetting up the table, it was just, let's call it going sideways yesterday. Everything was red in the major indexes, but not catastrophically. 45 minutes before we open, what are we looking at?
Now we've got some green ink on the index side anyway, Dave. The Dow is up about 0.5%. S&P 500 is up almost 0.3%, as well as the Nasdaq 100. And then the Russell 2000 is up almost 0.25%. However, on the other side of the coin, the commodity side, we've got a bunch of red. Silver trading down today, almost 1.5%. Gold's down between 6 and 7 tenths of a percent, and crude oil, well, it's kind of flat right now. I'd say that $87.38 a barrel.
Ooh, that's down from my delayed quote, though, so I'm happy to see it. I'll take any good news I can get. Looking across the ponds, the Asian Rim overall relatively optimistic. The Australian market's the only red ink in the bunch. Mainland Chinese markets closed fractionally up at the 6 a.m. close this morning. Europe, on the other hand, still nervous about the Gulf of about the Red Sea and the Straits of Hormuz. Everything's pretty much red in the European community, not big time. But the average European index is down about 0.1% halfway through their trading day. Getting my retirement together takes a plan. You specialize in those, Philip. How do I get a plan so I can retire someday?
Dave, it is important that people put together a plan getting ready for retirement. And I would say if you're 5 years out from retirement, 5 years even into retirement, it's important that you have a plan. Give me a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement review, where we'll look to see where you are, where you need to be, and how you need to get there. And then catch the Statler Financial Radio Show this weekend, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
And newstalk730am.com. I thank you so much, my friend. We'll catch you tomorrow and update everybody then. Fair enough?
All right, man. Have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Philip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope your day starts off well. I look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Take care.